Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is making his first post-debate campaign stop right here in central PA. It also marks his 5th visit to Pennsylvania since being picked as the running mate of Vice President Kamala Harris. We appreciate you being here with us tonight at 5. I'm TJ Anthony. Now, this visit to central PA comes less than 24 hours after that big governor's debate with Trump's running mate J.D. Vance, and we are bringing you live team coverage of this campaign rally today. Fatima Moeen is speaking with folks on both sides to hear their thoughts on the rally. Elise Person has the details about where else Governor Walz is headed in the state. But first, let's send it over to Jasmine Brooks, who is live out there. And Jasmine, it's already been an action-packed day.
It has. People just leaving the fairgrounds now. Behind me, you can see the Expo Center. Let me paint the picture inside and what it looked like. 1 truck, 2 tractors, 5 giant American flags, and dozens of barrels of hay. Before Governor Walz made his grand entrance, by the way, in a giant bus, roughly 2,200 people listened to other Democrats, including Senator John Fetterman. Now, one of the interesting things that Senator John Fetterman said off the top is, quote, Pennsylvania picks the president 100%. And as you said, the debate less than 24 hours ago, and you know it, that Walz was talking about that a lot. In fact, he said, quote, not bad for a football coach, calling it a civil debate. And here's what he said when it comes to character.
I'm with you. If this wasn't so damn serious, it would be funny. But character matters. Character matters. And Kamala Harris has it.
So Kamala Harris, where is she tonight? Well, she is in Georgia, touring the damaged state, of course, from Hurricane Helene. And we want to mention she was supposed to be here. That was the original plan. As for former President Donald Trump, he is headed to the battleground state of Pennsylvania come Saturday, and he'll be going back to Butler. All right, well, lots to get to, and we do have team coverage here on the York Fairgrounds. I want to send it over to Fatima Moeen. She is actually getting responses on both sides because, yes, some Republicans were here tonight. Fatima.
Hi, Jasmine. The energy definitely has been very upbeat today. I will say, aside from folks complaining about getting in and out of the parking lot, everyone is feeling everything but blue. Lines started forming since this morning, many waiting before sunrise to catch a glimpse of the Minnesota Governor, Tim Walz, being his second time campaigning on central PA soil. Meanwhile, Republicans say Harris-Walz supporters are ignoring the problems on the southern border.
I'm just happy to see so many people, particularly here where we are in Red Rock. So, happy to be here.
Anyone who votes for Harris-Walz is apparently okay with the status quo of the border. That means the fentanyl deaths. That means the human trafficking. Okay, Trump's going to close the border.
Right, so just to be clear, the event started around noon. Lines were running in around 2 p.m. today. And at this point, the event is over. You can still see folks leaving right behind me and wrapping up. And they have a lot of great things to say. They thoroughly enjoyed it. But for now, Jasmine, I'm going to send it back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Fatima Moeen. Okay, Elise Person here as well. This is not Elise's first rally. She's been covering several, a handful of them this election cycle alone. Elise, what was Tim Walz doing before he arrived here in York today?
Yeah, so here at the York Fairgrounds, I could actually hear the motorcade pull it up. And where was he coming from? The Harrisburg International Airport. So he touched down here in Harrisburg around 2 o'clock today. And something that's really interesting about the way that Governor Walz touched down is he flew commercially, got on a United Airlines plane, and that's how he came, which is not something that I have seen before in covering a number of these campaign events here this election season. But I do want to note that when he touched down, there was a number of supporters there for him, but then a private plane touched down on the tarmac as well, where some Trump supporters were there getting off of that plane. They asked that plane to move down a little bit, and that's when he got the chance, Governor Walz, to speak to his supporters. And he talked about last night's debate. He talked about what J.D. Vance said, or maybe what he didn't say as well. Take a listen.
To not acknowledge that the 2020 election was won by Joe Biden. It's as simple as that. And the idea that Donald Trump tried to save Obamacare is an absolute falsehood. That did not happen. And of course, they have said time and time and time again, they want a national ban on abortion. So as this comes down to the final days, let's be very clear where we're headed. Let's be very clear about the excitement. And I can tell you, listening to these folks today, we're winning Pennsylvania. We're going to get this thing done. So thank you.
Thank you, President.
And where is Governor Walz heading now that he's left the York Fairgrounds? Well, he's actually headed to a York apple orchard where he's going to be speaking with farmers and continuing to try to get his campaign message out here in Pennsylvania, where, as we've talked about before, very important swing state with still many undecided voters. Jasmine, I'll send it back over to you.
Elise Person, thanks so much. A lot more to get to, and it is worth noting within the hour that we were actually inside, 2 people sought medical attention and were taken out on stretchers after passing out. That said, we have a lot more, plus the speakers that we also saw on stage tonight. It's all coming up in just minutes. You can follow this, of course, at CBS21.com on our Facebook and YouTube channels as well. Let's send it over to Ed Russo.
We continue our Battleground PA coverage with Tim Walz heading to Central PA after last night's vice presidential debate. Jasmine Brooks joins us live from York, taking a closer look at how other voters across PA are reacting to that debate. And Jasmine, there were so many opinions on both sides about this.
Oh, absolutely. And I talked to obviously a lot of Tim Walz supporters here tonight who say he nailed it, and they were happy to hear with exactly what he said. You know, we know that Pennsylvania is a key battleground state, and even John Fetterman tonight said it is up to Pennsylvanians and we make the vote. So how crucial really is it for President Trump, Vice President Harris to win Pennsylvania? Voters, they are divided. In Bucks County, for example, here's just a small sample of how Harris-Walz supporters were reacting to the debate in real time. Take a listen.
I think any debate is difficult. I think he's sticking to the topics, and he's talking about things that are important to Pennsylvania voters and lots of Democrats, so I'm pretty happy so far.
Meanwhile, several Trump and Vance supporters thought the debate was going well for their party, with some saying they were frustrated with how one aspect of it was handled.
I think if the moderators would stop cutting him off, he could answer his questions a little better. But I think overall he's doing very good.
A CBS News poll reveals that 42% of watchers thought that J.D. Vance won the debate. That's 42%. 41%, I mean, talk about a thin margin, thinking Tim Walz won. Now, despite those numbers, 60% of viewers say they have a, quote, favorable view of Walz compared to just 49% for J.D. Vance. Of course, both presidential campaigns are focusing on 7 swing states that could tip the scales on the election in this neck-to-neck race. We know that former President Donald Trump is coming back to Pennsylvania, Butler to be exact, on Saturday. And for more on this key state, let's go to Matt Galka.
There were multiple times in the vice presidential debate where both candidates tried to speak directly to the undecided voters tuning in.
Ask yourself at home, when was the last time, I'm 40 years old, when was the last time that an American president didn't have a major conflict break out? The only answer is during the 4 years that Donald Trump was president.
Those of you listening, this is critical to you. Now, Donald Trump all of a sudden wants to go back and remember this. He ran on the first thing he was going to do on day one was to repeal Obamacare.
And it's those undecided voters in a handful of key states that could sway the entire election. New swing state polling released Wednesday from the nonpartisan Cook Political Report shows just how tight the margins are. Vice President Kamala Harris was leading, but barely, head-to-head against Donald Trump in 5 swing states. Trump was ahead by 2 points in Georgia, and the 2 candidates were tied in North Carolina. Any lead Harris or Trump had was within the margin of error of the poll, meaning it's still a toss-up in the states that might decide the whole thing.
Both campaigns game planning for every election scenario, so we wanted to show you a couple.
This is the electoral map with the blacked out states, those swing states we've been talking about. But the entire election could come down to Pennsylvania. For example, if the vice president were to sweep the Rust Belt and then capture the Keystone State, she gets to 270, she wins the election. But on the other hand, if the former president were to capture Pennsylvania and also sweep these southern states down here, that's 270. The rest of the map doesn't matter. The map math explains the focus of both campaigns this week. Walz hit Pennsylvania for his first post-debate stop, while Vance went to Michigan. Harris surveyed storm damage in Georgia before planned visits to the Rust Belt. Meanwhile, Trump will swing through North Carolina and Michigan before returning to the site of his near assassination in Pennsylvania. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz rolling right into a rally in York County today. Here, take a look, is him getting off the bus, and he's greeting his supporters right there after debating Trump's running mate J.D. Vance in New York City last night. We appreciate you being here tonight with us at 5:30. I'm TJ Anthony. There's already a lot to cover from tonight's rally alone. That's where we find Jasmine Brooks live from that event. And Jasmine, what are some of the biggest takeaways as far as what he mentioned, what he said? I see a lot going on behind you as well.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, one of the biggest takeaways was the energy in that room. It's been a while since I covered a rally, so to come in, to hear the loud music, the professional lights, it had a very much a concert theme and feel. Over here we have ladies from South Carolina selling t-shirts. This is the most popular. I'm with her. And you know what? Grand entrances were something that people were, making as they were decked out in Harris and Walz shirts, but also a grand entrance, as you mentioned, when it comes to his entrance. In that bus, the garage doors opened. This giant bus, Class A bus, comes on in. It pulls around into the front by the stage, and he says, wow, that was the biggest entrance I've ever made. And I'll tell you what, you can see it all. It happened behind me, but now it's cleared out. But on the heels of all this is last night's debate. We're talking less than 24 hours ago, where Walz was on the same stage as Senator J.D. Vance. And something that he talked about today that really stuck out is Walz said, we should all have freedom. And that includes freedom to send our kids to school safe without worrying they're going to be killed. Take a listen.
I'm a gun owner, I'm a hunter, and I found out in the first debate, Kamala's a hunter or a gun owner. She talked about being a gun owner. But look, we keep talking about this. This isn't about the Second Amendment. We can protect the Second Amendment, but our first responsibility is to our kids.
Yeah, and that speaks to a lot of mothers and fathers and teachers, as he was saying. That said, what were people saying? How did they receive him tonight? Fatima Moen joins me here on side of the fairgrounds, and you actually spoke with supporters as they were in line tonight.
Hi, Jasmine, and yes, I did. And you said it yourself. Folks came dressed up. They had pins, hats, shirts. I mean, the chants didn't stop until they inched their way to the front of the line.
We are not going back.
We're just excited. And she just said, this is when a lady was out here rallying everybody and getting everybody hyped up. And
this is better than going to school.
You heard it here. That's just one family I spoke with while on the line. Mary told me more about her family and why she brought her little ones out to experience today's event. She brought up how the kids and their friends are politically aware and how so many policies affect the livelihood of her children and others. And as we know, the event is well over, but I actually got to speak with folks as they walked out, one of them being Desiree Whitfield, a political consultant, and she told me that this county used to be red, and today reflects how the possibility of that may change. And we're still up ahead with more to come. Back to you for now, Jasmine.
One thing that I found really interesting is Vice President Kamala Harris was supposed to be in New York tonight. Of course, with Hurricane Helene, she is now in Georgia. So other people, other Democrats came to speak in her place, and Senator John Fetterman was one of those people. And what he said tonight really stuck with many people. He said, Pennsylvania picks this election 100%. 6%. Of course, you can see much more of our coverage on all of this coming up at 10 and 11 and at CBS21.com. Back to you.
Well, it is so hard to believe we are almost 1 month away from Election Day, and the campaign efforts, as you see, are just heating up, especially in battleground states like Pennsylvania. Jasmine Brooks is joining me live from the York County Fair, where the Harris-Walz team just finished another rally. And Jasmine, I know a lot of question on so many people's minds is how is Walz feeling after that big VP debate last night?
Confident. He was confident. He talked a lot about it. In fact, during his speech, he mentioned the debate quite often. The energy inside the room was pretty fantastic. About 3:30, John Fetterman took the stage. He talked for about 10 minutes. And then a former Republican took the stage, now Democrat, and she is a teacher who had a lot to say. Now, during her speech, someone passed out in the crowd, had to be taken out in a stretcher. Meanwhile, Walz comes out, and then another person actually passed out and had to be taken on to a stretcher. So there were some medical emergencies inside the building behind me. But when it comes to the debate, a lot of talk about his performance. You know, Republican Senator J.D. Vance, he was also on the debate stage last night, and he headed to the battleground state of Michigan today following last night's debate. The two kept it pretty cordial if you watched on most topics, ranging from abortion to immigration. And during his rally, Walz said today that he was actually nervous ahead of it, but yeah, he was proud of what he did.
Not bad for a football coach, not bad. So you also saw something interesting. We had a civil but spirited debate. And I did not underestimate Senator Vance as a slick talker. He could.
You know, Walz did claim Vance tried to mislead the audience on Trump's record, and a new CBS News poll shows that viewers were nearly split on who they think won. But both men are really seeing their favorability ratings go up. We have so much more to get to on what happened right here at the York Fairgrounds today. And of course, where is Walz going now? He's staying local and he's going on a little field trip. We're going to fill you in on that. Now, that's coming up at 6, by the way. But the campaigns, they are making their rounds, and voting already began around the country as mail-in ballots go out this week. And Dauphin County officials say mail-in ballots were just sent, but some have already been damaged. In a statement, the Dauphin County Bureau of Registration and Elections says they've been made aware that some of the mailed ballots arrived pre-sealed due to the excessive moisture in the air caused by the rainfall in our area. Can you imagine? So basically, Dauphin County is not the only Pennsylvania area already dealing with election issues. Luzerne County officials, they're fighting over drop-off ballot boxes, and the ACLU has just filed a lawsuit over the controversy as well. So according to officials, the Luzerne County manager removed ballot drop boxes around the area, citing her own security concerns. Now, PA Democrats are saying that she had no legal right to do so since she is not a member of the Board of Elections.
They're taking the easy way out with us. If somebody threatens polling locations on Election Day, are they going to shut down polling locations?
Lawmakers are calling on the PA Attorney General to investigate the decision. And now 3 voters and the ACLU of Pennsylvania are suing, trying to get the boxes restored. Lawyers for the plaintiffs argue there have been no substantiated cases of abuse or fraud involving drop boxes in Luzerne County. We're going to have much more coming up at 6, including what Governor Tim Walz had to say to Republicans. Yes, Republicans in the audience tonight.
Well, Jasmine, looking forward to checking in with you again at 6. And if you want to see more of what's going on with CBS 21's election coverage, just head over to CBS21.com and look under the Battleground PA section of our website. It's hard to believe we are exactly almost, that is, 1 month away from the 2024 election, and all eyes are where else but Pennsylvania, proving to be such a key battleground state in this election cycle. We appreciate you choosing us tonight at 6. I'm TJ Anthony. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is in York today campaigning for the Harris team. That's where we find CBS 21's Jasmine Brooks, who is anchoring our team coverage, while Elise Person and Fatima Moeen are standing by with reaction from the crowd and Republican voters. So Jasmine, tell us, what has the last few hours been like, and what did Walz cover in his speech?
Well, if you want to know, they've been very quick. He was kind of in and then out. He spoke and everything wrapped up within an hour. But while he was here, it was pretty exciting for the people in the crowd. But believe it or not, they weren't all Democrats. There were some Republicans in the crowd. He knew it, and he had a special message for not just those Republicans in the crowd, but the people that maybe were watching at home or family members of those that were Republicans. And this is what he said, quote, "The Republican Party has added much to the country." That's what he said. "We need them back again." Then he says that Republican Party is not Trump's Republican Party. Yes, he talked a lot about Donald Trump. Here's what else he said. Take a listen.
Let's remember, it was Donald Trump that started a trade war with China that his own people said he lost. Slashed income, put farmers into bankruptcy, and killed thousands of jobs because he thought it was a great idea. Then look, I was part of authoring. I was on the committee when we wrote farm bills. These things are bipartisan. There's a very important piece of that, crop insurance, making sure that our farmers don't go out. He tried to cut those programs.
You hear him talking about farmers, the crops, okay? And that was really how he set the stage, this whole rally. We're talking about one truck, 2 trailers, tractors, I should say, dozens of barrels of hay, and that was pretty much the scene. Kind of looked like the Lainey Wilson concert that was here at the same fairgrounds just a couple months ago. He was speaking to farmers. But what about the people here? What did they have to say, and how did they receive Governor Tim Walz tonight? For that angle, we're going to go to Fatima Moeen.
That's right, Jasmine. I mean, we are on battleground turf, and as part of that bus tour going across Central PA, I had the chance to hear from both sides. As we've been reporting since this morning, the York Fairgrounds started seeing lines forming up until the very last possible second for attendees racing to get in. While waiting to get in with passes ready on their phones, many stepped aside to explain their support, while the opposition, Republican Dan Muser, didn't hold back.
Trump is divisive. Besides that, he's a convicted felon. So they're saying she's always letting felons get away. This one we're not going to let get away. She's going to take care of him when she gets in office.
If they haven't done it in 3 years and 9 months, why do we think they're going to change course later on? Inflation is not going to change. It's going to get worse. I mean, they can't handle the longshoreman strike. They hate American energy. They hate pipelines.
Right, so all day we've been covering today's highly anticipated event, and we saw many of Pennsylvania's very own delegates in support of the Harris-Walz campaign. We're just, again, 34 days until, when it's all said and done, Election Day. In York County, I'm Fatima Moeen, CBS 21 News. Back to you, Jasmine.
All right, Fatima Moeen, thank you so much. Elise Person is here too. Here's the deal. He had to get here some way. Although he arrived in a giant bus to the fairgrounds, Tim Walz came by plane. So Elise was actually at HIA. And not only did his plane arrive, but Elise, a private plane arrived with some maybe unexpected guests. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Jasmine. So I was at HIA, and as Governor Tim Walz landed, another plane followed behind him. So I've covered a number of these campaign events as well as these candidates coming to Harrisburg International. It was a private plane with Trump supporters that landed on the tarmac. They were ushered to move where they were, continue down the tarmac when Governor Walz stepped out and met with his supporters. So another thing that I haven't seen so far yet this campaign season when people are coming to Central PA is guess how Governor Walz flew. Well, he flew commercial. He was on a United Airlines flight coming into Central PA. And when he got to the airport, he spoke to, like I said, a number of supporters. And one of the things he talked about was his top priorities should he be voted into office. Take a listen here.
The passion and speaking on this, and I think being a teacher and being around teachers, trying to convey these messages, but especially on the school shooters, and I think for all of us here, pretty damn clear that I've stirred with the victims, pretty damn clear that I've passed legislation to make sure this is less of an issue and trying to get at the heart of it. Pretty clear that my wife and I have dedicated ourselves to making gun violence a top priority.
So with being a former teacher, obviously school safety, one of the top issues for him. But as you heard Jasmine mention earlier as well, is being, in this agricultural industry is extremely important to him as well as a former farmer. So actually where he's headed to right now is he's at a apple orchard in York County. So Jasmine, I'll send it back over to you, but definitely a lot of things that Governor Walz talked about would be of top importance should he, win that seat. So I'll send it back over to you now.
Absolutely, and we have so much more to share with our viewers at 10 and 11 o'clock on CBS 21. In the meantime, head to our Facebook page, our YouTube page, and CBS21.com. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Back to you. Trucks, a lot of hay, tractors. It seems fitting for the York County Fair, wouldn't you say? But what about a rally for Governor Tim Walz? This was the scene. Also, can you imagine that just literally 2 hours ago, this room was filled with more than 2,200 supporters of the governor? He was here, well, the stage was there, and now everyone has come and gone. Listen, a lot of key points that he made tonight. Yes, he talked abortion. Yes, he talked economy. And yes, he talked about former President Donald Trump and why Harris should be your pick. But on that, he also had a message for Republicans who, by the way, some were in the crowd. And his message was, we need Republicans. We need them back. And Republicans, we're not talking about Trump's Republicans, as he called them. Anyway, he is off to an apple orchard, as he should be, right? I mean, we're in central Pennsylvania. But I really want you to get the feel for what's going on here. It is kind of just amazing to see behind the scenes how quickly these events come and go. And I'm going to show you a lot more of what he said at 10 and 11. But for now, I am Jasmine Brooks in York County. It's been fun. I'll see you back on the desk. TJ, back to you.